Honey, I got a doozy for you guys in this video. In this video, we got the body examiner. Don't you know that lady that the boys, Warren and all of them, not Warren, but the rest of the Wyatt and them, they went to talk to this lady to analyze if they're lying or not. She said that they are lying about doing stuff in his phone. So you gotta watch that. Also, a Mississippi judge is in here, and he's talking about how he believes that the boys are very suspicious, and he believes that it's a lot of foul play involved. We also have Nancy Grace giving more updates. So when I tell you this right here is a bombshell, you guys have to listen and I watch it, and I want to know your thoughts about all of this. Please leave them in the comments section.
A Nolan Wells bombshell report tonight. Does it reveal new witnesses? And because of the new timeline report, is there a timeline shift in what happened the afternoon and evening? Nolan Wells seemingly disappears. His body found washed up at Horn Island.
Now Nolan Wells' friends, the ones who were there when he died, who left the island without him, who took his phone and his keys, the ones who still haven't told us what happened, have a give, send, go for what they've endured. What they've endured. While his mother is still waiting for answers about what happened to her child. And the text of this Give, Send, Go campaign accuses race baiters of attacking Nolan Wells' best friends and not allowing them time to grieve.
Now I really want to see the other autopsy to see, is there trauma to the body? Is there something that happened?
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
I have no doubt that what we're listening to and what she did is credible.
Everybody wants answers. Instead, this case keeps producing more questions. Months have passed. Headlines have come and gone. Social media has turned the Nolan Wells case into one of the most talked about investigations in the country. Thousands of theories have been shared. Millions of opinions have been posted. Yet the one thing that actually matters hasn't changed. What happened to Nolan Wells? Everyone has an opinion. Some believe the answers are already out there. Others think the truth is still hidden somewhere inside the evidence. But before we look at theories, it's worth listening to someone who spent years inside the justice system. One interview caught my attention for a different reason. It wasn't built around rumors or viral speculation. It came from a former judge who spent years weighing evidence, listening to witnesses, and separating facts from assumptions. He wasn't trying to tell people who was guilty. He wasn't accusing anyone. Instead, he explained why certain parts of this investigation continue to stand out from a legal perspective. Conflicting statements, questions surrounding Nolan's phone, gaps in the timeline. These aren't conclusions, and they aren't proof that anyone committed a crime. They're the kinds of issues experienced investigators examine carefully because even the smallest inconsistency can lead to a much bigger picture. Those are the questions that can shape an investigation long before anyone ever walks into a courtroom. So today, we're going to break down what the former judge had to say, compare it with what has been shared publicly, and look at why this investigation continues to leave so many questions unanswered. Because when you strip away the headlines, the rumors, and the endless debate online, one question still stands. What really happened to Nolan Wells? This is Dark Crime Ledger. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and stay tuned.
A lot of people are pointing fingers at their friends. From your professional opinion, what makes them look guilty?
I wouldn't say it makes them look guilty, but it definitely makes them look suspicious. The friends did not act as friends normally do. First of all, if you leave your friend back, you're going to know exactly who they stayed with. And from the very beginning, it has been conflicting information. The young lady allegedly was named Katie, and she says allegedly that Nolan told her that he was going back with the friends he came with. And those friends are saying that he stayed back with Katie. So one of those two cannot be the truth. And what we do know is that Katie did not lawyer up initially. I don't think she still has lawyered up, but we were told that the so-called friends lawyered up initially. They deactivated their social media, maybe scrubbed some of their social media initially. That's very suspicious. Why would you do that if no foul play was expected or had occurred? Because people drown every year And if you just a witness to someone drowning, there's no need to be so afraid or
Fidgety.
so fidgety.
Yeah. Now, a lot of things were going on as this unfolded, a lot of suspicious activity. And I'm going to kind of highlight a couple of them for you. The first was, his phone and keys were not on his person. How did you feel about that particular information when you got that?
That in of itself, the phone, if you're out boating and the water was so high, you normally would have your phone on a dry location. So you would have left it in the interior of the boat or something. But the suspicious thing would come when if he allegedly told them he was going to go stay on the island with a young lady, he would have retrieved his phone. You know for certain you don't have it on you.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the first things you're going to do.
I would think I would give you the phone. Hey, yo, here's your phone.
He would have voluntarily, when it retrieved, or his friends would have reminded him of taking it to him before they got on the boat and left the island. They would have seen it. And definitely if they just happened to forget to give it to him, as soon as they got back to land, they would have taken it to his mother or his father and said.
Because were they not, he was supposed to be staying at one of their houses, right? Like a sleepover?
He did the night before, allegedly, yes.
So I think to me that was a question, okay, if he's not going to go back with y'all, how does he get back to the house?
Mm-hmm.
Like if y'all was his ride, unless somebody else was supposed to be out there, that's where it gets a little blank for me.
Correct. Because now I was still at the friend's house, yeah.
Right. Another thing that kind of came up, maybe that's considered suspicious, that they didn't let his family know, particularly his mother know, till like 11 p.m. or something like that.
Yes.
That he was missing.
And I didn't understand that either, because if you believe the stepmom, they left Horn Island around 4:30. And so I don't know why.
I think that was the real mom, I think.
Now, the judge is a stepmom.
She was out there too?
She didn't go out there. The real mom went out there, but someone released a statement on Facebook, and I believe that was Ashley Cole, that recounted what I believe Warren had told her, Warren Hudson, that they left the island around 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of hours that would have passed between 4:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. So I don't know why they would have waited till 11 p.m. to call Miss Wansley.
Yeah, I think that was something that stood out for me, because it kind of helped support something possibly happening, things moving, things being deleted, if you're kind of getting all that time. That time we don't know what's happening. Now, I also will point out another thing that was suspicious is the inconsistencies in their storylines when it first came out, like the timeline. I will kind of give this grace, but Warren's real mother said that they left around 5. There was a DM message that we had covered, and then his stepmother said around 4:30 is when they left. But I was noticing a lot of inconsistency at times. Were there other things that time-wise that didn't make sense for you?
Yeah, I don't see why the stepmother and the real mother would have different timelines. What did Warren tell them? The truth never changes. And so he should have told them both the same thing. And so that tells me that if they are giving inconsistent statements, that's in line with what his statement is different from Katie's. So it's too many inconsistent statements. And that's how you know somebody's not telling the truth. And now we can't determine who's lying, but somebody's lying out of the group, because all of that cannot be the truth. Somebody has to be inaccurate. So
and that's from your professional background of knowing
correct
that when it's inconsistencies, there's behind that is something else going on.
Yes. And so I had to make decisions in real time as a judge. I would sit there and listen to the evidence from both sides, and then I can make a ruling based on what's more believable than not. What was proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting, because some of this stuff has been like interesting, coincidence, suspicious. It's a lot to take in sometimes. But his body was found in the same area, part of the island, where where he was docked at, or was ideally last seen, I guess. How do you feel about that? Is that coincidence? Is it because I thought once your body hits the water, it's supposed to get moved, or I don't know.
I'm no boating expert, but I find it suspicious that when the island was searched on the day before, his body was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And then to find it in the place where he was last known to be seen, if that's true, on Monday, 2 days later, that's very suspicious. Yeah. Was that body, did it just wash up, or was it planted there that morning?
Yeah. Did you just see the Cajun Navy's report that they put out?
I did see their report initially.
At least what I gathered that stood out for me was they pointed out there was no proof of the Triton boat taking on water. They don't have any outside of the call. There was no other proof to say that they was taking on water. That's what I got from that report, which, I thought was rather interesting. But was there anything out of that report that maybe stood out too?
Yeah, I just found it very suspicious. The whole thing with calling CTO versus calling 911 or calling the Coast Guard if you were sinking, and then the CTO dispatcher asked whoever she was speaking to, did they need Coast Guard? And they said no, and that's not a normal response. If you're sinking and taking on water and about to lose your life potentially, you're going to want somebody very trained and professional that's close by to get there as soon as possible, and as many people as possible.
Yeah. Because it was interesting, the fact that the grandfather then called the captain directly and said, no, we good. Now, let's talk about the call. This audio call would leak. At first, the majority of us did not catch the background audio. That audio was then stripped, enhanced, or helped so people can hear it. And we hear a conversation that sounds like some foul play is happening. It sounds that way. I think I could say that right. Mm-hmm. And what was your reaction to hearing that, the audio recording?
Yeah, when I initially heard the recording, I focused in on the conversation between the dispatcher and whoever the guy was. Mm-hmm. You can clearly hear what they're saying. I did notice initially that there was some faint sounds, a chatter, but I had not been able to decipher what was said. But when it was stripped by audio engineer or enhanced or without the use of AI, you can clearly hear certain things being said. Mm-hmm. And that led me to believe was Nolan actually on that boat.
The judge looked at this case the way someone inside a courtroom would. He talked about conflicting accounts, unanswered questions, and the kinds of details investigators are trained to examine before drawing any conclusions. But not everyone approached this case from that angle. Another interview took the conversation in a completely different direction. Instead of breaking down evidence or discussing legal standards, the focus shifted to one person who has been at the center of public attention since the beginning, Warren Hudson. By the time this interview aired, countless people online had already watched clips of Warren speaking publicly. Every pause was analyzed. Every word was picked apart. Every facial expression became another topic of debate. Some viewers were convinced they could spot deception just by watching him. Others argued that people were reading far too much into normal human behavior after a traumatic event. That's exactly why this interview stood out. Rather than asking viewers to trust internet speculation, the host brought in a professional body language analyst to review Warren's public statements. The goal wasn't to determine who was responsible for Nolan's death. It wasn't to replace the official investigation. Instead, the interview explored whether Warren's words, expressions, and reactions revealed anything investigators might find important, or whether people online had been jumping to conclusions. And before we get into what she found, it's important to remember one thing. Body language analysis is not physical evidence. It doesn't prove someone is telling the truth, and it doesn't prove someone is lying. At most, it can identify areas that may deserve closer examination alongside witness interviews, digital records, and forensic evidence. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at what Warren Hudson said and why that interview sparked another wave of discussion across the country.
Welcome to TMZ Live, and I apologize. Somehow I woke up and lost my voice. And Charles is on vacation this week, so he has left me hanging here. Okay, that said, everybody is talking about Nolan Wells, the kid who tragically died over 4th of July weekend. And there are multiple investigations going now on exactly what happened. There is suspicion by some that maybe his friends were involved. So Jackson here spoke to a body language expert. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really interesting because she focused on one of Nolan's best friends.
Right. So Officer Tatum did an interview with Warren Hudson, which is ultimately...
And Hudson's one of his best friends.
Warren's one of his best friends who was on the boat with Nolan around the time of his death.
Right.
And there are a few questions that stuck out to this body language expert that Officer Tatum asked Warren. The first one being, were you friends with him? There's a lot of speculation starting out. Did you even know him? Which he says yes. And Susan Constantine, pretty renowned body language expert, says he's not being deceptive in that regard.
So we have sound on this, and we're using this sort of as a baseline to explain how she reaches her conclusions.
Right.
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college. You know, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends.
When I looked at his body language there, and also to his statements, as I shared with you off screen, is that I actually ran every statement that he made, even through Deceptio AI. So I was doing a double check to determine what was the percentage of that statement that was either truthful or not truthful based on statement analysis. So the question was, what was your relationship like with Nolan? And then he went on to describe, that Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend to me, but he was a brother. So that was really powerful, how he actually internalized that relationship. That statement came up 91% truthful. Okay, so what does that mean? Sometimes they use contracture, sometimes they use odd language, but it doesn't fall into the deceptive category, so it's truthful.
I want to say, just so you know, this is not stuff that's admissible in a court of law, right, but it's interesting. So that was her baseline. Then we get into this controversy over Nolan's phone.
Exactly. A huge point of contention about this case is things that may have been deleted from Nolan's phone. So Officer Tatum asks him, did you touch Nolan's phone? Did you go through Nolan's phone? Did you delete anything?
And we play that for Susan, and she has an analysis.
Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, there was no reason for us to get on Nolan's phone. No one touched Nolan's phone, but nothing. If none of us had touched Nolan's phone, then, there's no reason for anything to be deleted. I mean, no one even was in contact with his phone until it was moved from the boat to the truck. And none of us have access to Nolan's password to get on his phone and delete anything. Absolutely not. And we have no reason to delete anything.
Look at all of these different statements. Most of them were truthful, but there's going to be one that I want to explore more. There is going to be question around the phone. I'm just going to let you know that. I believe that this is an area that needs a little bit more probing. It needs more. It's not a highly deceptive. It's just comes up as deception, as has been indicated in here. So the opposite hand below, while maintaining a tense posture, that one never moves. So there's that tenseness there. The head nods no at not, which is consistent. The vocal tone is slightly elevated and more emphatic in his tone. He says, no one touched Nolan's phone. If none of us had touched Nolan's phone, then there would be no reason for anything to be deleted. That one came up as 83% deception indicated.
Now, again, that is not non-scientific.
Right.
This is her thing.
Right.
And the second thing I want to say is, even if it came up as deceptive, it doesn't mean he did anything untoward.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that he did anything untoward. And again, this is, like you said, not admissible in court.
So ultimately, she evaluates whether there was foul play in Nolan's death, right, based on what she's hearing.
Right.
And
to which she, at the end here, says...
Well, let's play it.
Let's play it.
I mean, she has an opinion about this.
So do I think there's foul play? No. I do not think there's foul play.
So she says no evidence of foul play.
Exactly.
And she's not saying there is or isn't. Mm-hmm. She's saying, based on what she's seeing, nothing is popping up.
Exactly, to her. And again, this is a renowned body language expert. She goes into court and she tells judges, look, here is how you can evaluate professionals to take the stand, whether they're worthy or not. And I trust her evaluation, and I think we can just keep our eyes peeled moving forward on what happens with the case for when the.
I just want to say, in terms of trusting, I don't buy the science of this.
Well, Harvey, our chat doesn't agree with that either. They kind of think that the body language expert is already a little bit BS, but then the minute that she brought in using AI to kind of back up her claims, that it kind of invalidated everything she said.
Yeah.
Hey, this is T from Long Island. I think this is a very interesting way of analyzing and interpreting this conversation. And I think it would be great if they just took an actual polygraph. And I know sometimes they say polygraphs are not admissible in court either. However, do what's going to be the most credible thing. I mean, this body language expert, I don't know.
Yeah.
They need answers. The family needs answers.
And even polygraphs, you get false positive, false negatives too.
So after everything we've covered, we're right back where this case began. A former judge says investigators should pay close attention to the inconsistencies. A body language expert believes some answers deserve a closer look, while also saying she doesn't have enough information to conclude there was foul play. Investigators continue reviewing evidence. The public continues searching for answers. And Nolan's family continues waiting. Every new interview adds another piece to the conversation. Every photograph is examined. Every phone record is reviewed. Every witness statement is compared against the next. Every timeline is tested to see if it holds together. But none of those pieces matter on their own. They only matter if they help investigators answer the one question that has remained unchanged since July 4th. Not who the internet believes is responsible, not who social media has already judged, but what the evidence can actually prove about what happened to Nolan Wells. Until that answer comes, this investigation isn't defined by certainty. It's defined by the search for the truth. And that's the part of this story that still isn't over.